Show me one person who doesn't like recognition. People, once your employees are spread across different locations, once they're in this new work environment of hybrid, that's where the digital tools can help. Thank you everyone for joining me in this session today. I want to talk about employee rewards and recognition, the importance of recognition particularly, not just the rewards, on employee engagement. I also want to introduce a little bit about the framework of how you go and design your recognition programs. And I also want to share some insights from the study which we did in the Indian context, what's happening around rewards and recognition among the Indian companies. But before I go into the details of it, I think two important points which I want to make. One is I get asked this question, is employee rewards and recognition important? Do we need to really focus on that? We have something going on, but do we really need to focus on that? I think the answer to that is very simple. Show me one person who doesn't like recognition. You don't need data to prove that. And it's not just in the corporate environment, anywhere. Just a thank you and appreciation, it just uplifts you. And I think the same holds within the company also. So, you can do all the paralysis will keep on happening with all the data analysis, but you don't need data to prove that. Of course, the follow-up question is that, will it reduce attrition in my company? It will, but I don't know how much. Okay, the cause and the effect is too far of a distance for us to really tell. And of course, attrition gets affected by a lot of other factors there. But maybe it's a wrong question to ask. Now, I give this example. People are in relationships. They might move out of the relationship. They might separate at some point of time. But as long as they're in the relationship, they should be in love. So in the same way, within the corporate, they might move away. For different reasons, for various kinds of reasons which are there. But as long as they're there inside the company, the recognition will play an important part. You want them to be in love. You want them to be engaged. And recognition can play a very important role. The good thing is, every company has some kind of recognition programs. Okay? Maybe that annual function, maybe the town hall thing, maybe a culture of just walking up to people, appreciating them. Every company has some kind of recognition programs there. Maybe it's not very structured, maybe it's not very formal, but there is a recognition program there. The second point is about, is digital tools or are digital tools to be used for recognition? The answer is no. If you can actually go and meet people, give the recognition face to face, walk up to a person, nothing like that. Digital recognition tools cannot replace the physical and the face-to-face recognition. But once you go beyond that 150, 200 people, once you forget the names of people, once your employees are spread across different locations, once they're in this new work environment of hybrid, that's where the digital tools can help. It's not to replace. It's more to complement your programs, complement your recognition programs there. And of course, once you do your digital tools, you get added benefits like you can track it, measure it, tweak it accordingly. So recognition is very important lever of employee engagement, and digital tools complement your recognition programs. And it's not just us who's saying that. The Gartner, for example, says that the engagement scores are 8 percentage points higher for employees who are recognized. The second data is also there. There are lots of data out there. I just picked up one where it says that the recognition plays a very, very important role in the whole success of the employee inside the organization. Now, we said like, hey, let's see what's happening in the Indian market. Okay, we haven't seen a lot of data in the Indian market. These are lots of global and primarily US centric data there. So we did this whole survey around April, May of this year, along with SHRM. We went through, we surveyed about 200 odd companies across different categories. They were like companies of different sizes, from 500 people to 50,000 people companies. There were companies at different stages of their growth. Their manufacturing, pharma, all those kinds of companies were there, knowledge workers and all. And we came up with some of this insight. So it's a huge report. It's about 100 odd pages. You can collect it from our booths, or you can download it anytime from our website. And of course, I can't go through all those findings, but some insights I want to show. And as far as I know, this is the first study which has been done on the state of the recognitions among Indian companies. So yeah, the first slide is basically says the AIR scores of a company in the recognition space is around, average AIR score is around 70%. Now AIR is the framework which I will explain to you down the line, but basically it measures how you design your programs and how effective it is. Okay, that is about 70%. Earlier, when we did this same survey about 12 to 18 months back, it was about 60% in India. So we see companies focusing more and more on the recognition program. That's a good thing to see among the focus among the Indian companies around the recognition space. We asked this question that how effective are your recognition programs? Of course, it's not like a simple question. There are some parameters through which we find this answer. About 50% companies felt their recognition programs are effective. And there was a very strong correlation between the previous slide, the AIR scores, and the effectiveness of their programs. Now, of course, you design it well, it's going to be more effective. But there were also some companies where they had scored high on the AIR score, but the effectiveness or the perceived effectiveness was not there. That gives a scope for improving the execution part of it. This third slide is interesting. So you have a recognition program, but how do you drive the excitement in the recognition program? Why should people want to be recognized on this platform? Now, I get the birthday wishes from all my insurance companies, from all my loan providers. Even the grocery stores give me a birthday wish, but I don't care, right? I just want my friends to recognize me. So why would employees want to be recognized on this platform? And what is happening is the focus of Indian companies seems to be on the monetary value of it. Give 1,000 rupees. Okay, give 2,000 rupees on that. Why do they do that? Of course, it's the easiest thing to do, right? Just you have some budget, just give it out. You don't have to think. Think about when you're called for a birthday or a dinner party. It's very difficult selecting what kind of gift you want to give. So if you can give monetary awards, just give out a monetary value. But think about it. You go to someone's dinner party. At the end of the dinner party, you give 500 rupees. Or do you want to give 200 rupees flower bouquet? Which is more effective? So we feel that monetary value is not the only criteria. There are other ways to increase this excitement among employees to be recognized on this program. And so these were some of the design things, and then we also looked at the data which we had among the different corporates, and we found out what was happening there. We found out that less than 20% of the employees are recognized every quarter. Very closely tied up with the previous point, okay? Because once you have a limited budget and you are giving out those 1,000 rupees, how much budget will you have, right? So once you focus on the monetary part of it, you are limited in terms of the recognitions which you can give. Right? So only 20%. I think there's a scope to give much more recognitions. You find much more occasions to give those recognitions, but it's only about less than 20% of the people are recognized every quarter. This is an interesting slide. This basically, we picked up some data on this, and what do you find? What is the average length of the citation messages when you give a recognition? It's 42 characters. Okay, which means, Partha, great job done, congrats. It's like, in your office when you give around the card for birthday wishes, happy birthday, right? So it doesn't, you're not putting a thought to it, okay? But These things help in improving the impact of your recognitions. And there are tools, okay, our tools, there are other tools in the market which help you improve these kind of personalization. I mean, it's maybe looking very contradictory, digital tools helping you in personalization, but tools are there, you know. For example, in our case, we say it's difficult to write a two sentence about a person, but you can pick up two characteristics of the person: disciplined, team player. Automatically the sentence will be formed, and then you can edit it. So these are digital tools which are there. But I'll just leave at this point on the findings. As I said, there are lots of other interesting findings. You can see the benchmark. You can compare that. All those things are there. But how are companies going about designing their programs? Okay, I mean, this is from our experience of talking to different people across the industry. We found that, of course, historically, how they have been doing is the major influence on that. Beyond that, what are peers doing in the market? What is the feedback from their employees? And what are vendors like us shouting about, right? So we can move certain things in a certain direction by the amount of marketing we do, right? So these are different areas which are different aspects in which companies are designing their recognition programs. But I think there needs to be a fundamental relook on how you design your recognition programs. One is, of course, you should have a recognition philosophy. Why are you doing this? What do you want to achieve with this recognition program? There has to be some serious thought behind it. How is it mapped to the business goals? How is it mapped to your values, the mission, and the vision? And how is it aligned to your corporate culture, your values there, your demographics? I mean, you can't have the same program for a manufacturing company or an IT sector. You can't have the same recognition framework for a 200 people or a 500 people company versus a 5,000 people company. So those are things which you need to look into. All good to say, right? Theoretical things. But the problem is when the rubber hits the road, how do you go about designing this program? So this we found out during the COVID times. We had a lot of inquiries coming in that, hey, we want to digitalize. Everything was digitalize everything, right? So CHR just said we need to digitalize our HR practices and the tools and the techniques there. So they came to us, hey, we want to digitalize our rewards and recognition program. How do we go about it? Now, we have a platform. We don't have that experience in consulting there. So we said, okay, fine, let's just find out. Let's find out what's happening in the market, give them some best practices, all those things we tried. But we couldn't find a proper framework in which can help. And also understand, if you're asked to change your comp and benefits policies, if you're asked to change organizational design or restructuring of the organizational design, there is enough expertise and experience within the company. Or you have enough consultants out there, all the big fours plus, you have those guys who can help you with that. Rewards and recognition was never considered in that way, so you don't have that expertise. And we said, hey, let's invest in this now. So we came up with this framework called the AIR framework. Okay. We say it's the appreciation, incentivization, reinforcement with a superscript of emotional connect. I'll explain to that in the next 4 slides. But primarily, there are these 4 pillars, we say. And this is, again, I'll reiterate it again. This is a framework. It doesn't tell you how your program should be. It tells you what factors you should look into when you design your programs. Of course, we found a lot of things like you should be, prompt, you should be specific and all those things, but it was not very structured. So we came up with this framework. Appreciation. So we have these 4 pillars: appreciation, incentivization, reinforcement, and the emotional connect. Appreciation is basically recognizing a person's inherent value. You have been there with the company for 5 years. Thank you for helping me out over the weekend. It is not performance linked. We don't need to think about it as performance linked and only if you achieve a particular goal that you have to be appreciated. That's the appreciation part. Incentivization, which I referred to earlier. How do you design your program to make it exciting for your employees? The reinforcement, which behaviors you want to drive, how is it aligned to the company values? The emotional connect, how do you personalize your recognition? Okay. How do you deliver that recognition? So that's the E, and we say E with a superscript because it's a force multiplier. And we say this is the air your employees need to breathe. I'll just go through these 4 pillars, just 4 more slides on this thing. So appreciation, we say, okay, 2 factors you need to figure out. Okay, well, how much coverage do you want on that? Do you want your contractors? Do you want the factory workers, everyone to be covered under there? What is the frequency you want them to be recognized in? Now, for our recommendation is junior employees need to be recognized more than the senior employees there. So these are 2 factors around appreciation which will help you design your program on the appreciation pillar. The incentivization, right? There has to be a clear line of sight. We say the 2 factors, clarity and impetus. There should be a clear line of sight which employees know how will they be ever recognized on this platform. It should not be left to people's assumptions, people's, whatever their mood goes into it. I see a lot of people asking that there's a lot of unfairness on this thing. But I think the clear line of sight on what they need to be recognized on the platform has to be defined there. And what is the impetus? Monetary value is, of course, always one. But beyond the monetary value, do you want to make it exclusive? Do you want to make it very public announcements? Okay, that way it helps to create that excitement among employees. The reinforcement, which specific behaviors do you want to drive? Timeliness, discipline, innovativeness, teamwork. Okay, you can't say, just take this and just keep on recognizing for whatever you want. Once you specify those behaviors, okay, and if it is aligned, you have to look at whether it is aligned to the company values. Your company might be into house cleaning services, then you don't need too much of innovativeness there, right? So you have to be aligned to the company values. And I'll just take a slight diversion on this slide. So for example, with one company, we are working on ESG. So they want to drive the ESG behavior, environment, social governance, which is becoming a CEO metric, a very strong CEO metric, and I think we'll hear more and more about in the next 2 years there. So they want to drive this ESG behavior among their employees. How do they do it? Okay, so we created this framework for them where they could drive certain behaviors around the ESG. And actually, this also gave us this whole thought. You have lots of systems of record in the company. Your payroll, HRMS systems, all those things are there. But there are very few systems of HR which can drive behavior. And recognition tools can also be looked at as behavior driving, behavior changing tools, which are there, right? And the last point is, the emotional connect there. So how do you personalize your message there? What factors do you need to think about when you personalize? How does the tool help you, put very personalized messages there? How do you deliver it? Is it going to be a town hall? Is it going to be the annual function? Do you just walk up to the person? How is the delivery done? So those are factors which you should look into. Now, of course, it's much more comprehensive. It gives you more details about how to grow about this program. You can download the white paper from our site. We also have something called an air assessment. If you have 10-15 minutes of your time, just go to our site, fill up those questions. You will get some scores, and you can benchmark yourself against the report which you have come up there. Right? So, so summarize. Recognition is a very, very important lever and a low-hanging lever to increase employee engagement. Companies need to think about how to restructure their recognition programs and how to use it more effectively, and aligning with the company values and the goals there. It needs to be evaluated on a regular basis. I mean, what you had today, in 2 years' time, it will be very different, okay, what you want to drive. So it needs to be reevaluated, measured on a constant basis there. And we suggest like around 18 months, 12 to 18 months, you should reevaluate your programs. And digital tools can help you in this entire recognition program. Now, of course, so that's all I have to say, but why should you hear about us? So I'm just leaving the last 2 slides on about us. So we have been there in this space for quite some time, about 10, 12 years now we have been there. We have multiple products around this space, around the employee engagement space, but rewards and recognition is a very strong focus for us. We have some big clients, but more importantly, we don't have many clients, but we have spoken to many of the others who are there through which we have been able to gather our learnings. Multiple awards on that. G2, if many of you are aware, many of you might be aware, G2 is the site where people go for B2B buying decisions. We are ranked the #1 across the globe in the enterprise rewards and recognition space. And I'm proud to say that we are doing all this while we have 4 offices in Canada, US, Netherlands, and India. In India, we are primarily based out of Assam, Guwahati. So all our 250 odd people are based out of there, and we have been able to really make a mark in this space. So we know our space. So please spend some time with our framework. I'm sure you will have some feedback, inputs on that. Happy to take your feedback on that. Thank you.